about the term disability or disabled? Because I know that there's, you know, with everything else, there's a lot of a variety of what's politically correct and what's acceptable language and that
I
kind of
prefer
thing.
disabled. It's very clear, it's very cut and dry, to the point. I know what disabled is. I don't know what differently abled is. Okay, so you can fly?
Right.
You can roll. Not everybody can roll.
That's true.
That's true. But yeah.
You know, so
I like that.
the PC terms, handy capable,
Right.
off. Like, seriously, those are just patronizing and demeaning. Say what it is, understand that it's not unable, it's disabled in the
Right.
fact that a car can have a disabled seatbelt and still work fine throughout the rest
Right.
of
It
the
doesn't
car.
mean the car doesn't work.
Right. You just don't put your child in that seat.
Right.
You know?
I think that's a good. I think
That's
that's
a
a really
great way
good
of looking at
analogy.
it.
I think that's a really good analogy. It is. I think it's great. You know, just because one thing doesn't work doesn't mean everything doesn't work.
Right. And yeah,
Or
I've
even
got
doesn't work the way other people are used to it working, or
Right,
that you're
right.
even used to it working.
right, like those cars with the butterfly doors. How do you open those? What? What? But people like them. They're cool. So, you know, I think of myself as a car with butterfly doors.
There you go.
Nice.
I'll take that.
I just work differently.
Work differently. And, you know, and again, I think that that's something that everybody has to start to understand, that, you know, at some point, you know, unless you're, you know, freakishly healthy or something.
Well, even freakishly healthy people lose ability
Yeah.
unless you're killed at a young age. That's why I said if you're lucky, you'll deal with it.
Yeah.
If you're not lucky, you're gonna die.
The alternative.
Yeah.
Yeah, the alternative is you don't really
So I just get to deal with it my whole life instead of.
You've got a head start on the rest of us.
Yeah, I don't have to go through that whole.
You don't have to worry about some of that. Because
Yeah, I
you
already
dealt with
know
it
about it,
emotionally.
and I don't need to worry about the emotional aspect of losing ability. And of course, I want to lose ability, but I already have all the stuff to help me with that.
Right.
And whatever I don't have, I know it's going to be out there, or I can make it, or whatever. I know that there's a way to adapt my world to work with my body. I find that able-bodied people just are inefficient with how they do their daily tasks because they can.
Mm-hmm.
And people with disabilities are very efficient. We may be slow, but we're very efficient.
Because
We
you have
use
to
our
be.
energy efficiently to get what we need to get done. So it's interesting the way that I notice these things about the two different groups, and it's fun. I don't point it out to a lot of people, but
But I think that's an important insight to make, because you probably have to plan your day a lot more and be very careful about understanding this is how much energy I have, this is how much I can do in any given time.
right. These are the steps I can take before I get too tired and fall and
Right.
hurt myself, and then my day is screwed. You know.
Right.
So yeah, I really do have to plan every step of my day. So but I've been doing it my whole life, so it's nothing new. It's not like, oh, boo-hoo, I had to plan. I plan because that's how I function, and I want to be able to function. I could just lay in bed all day and shop at the spade and, you know, have my parents take care of me until they die, and then have someone else take care of me until I die. But I don't want to live like that, and a lot of us don't.
Just talking about sex and disabilities, what would you like to see, what would you like people to know, what would you like to see happen as far as people's general knowledge?
That people with disabilities are people too, and we have these needs, and I started talking about disability in a human sexuality class. You were there. My first talk.
Yeah.
And my goal is really to point out that, it is a fact that we have these urges, and that it needs to be addressed in psychology, sociology, all these different social behavioral sciences, and it's not. When I took human sexuality, I didn't hear one thing about disability. I heard a lot about, the kink stuff, which was great for me. It opened a lot, for me, it opened a whole new world for me. And I became friends with you, and that's great, and, I'm a lot more open-minded rather than, ew, that's weird. And that really helped me, and I wanted to help other people think, oh, if I have a client who happens to have a disability, we should probably talk about sex, or relationships, or not just, oh, you're in a wheelchair, that sucks, boo-hoo.
Yeah.
It's...
You still want to ask them the same questions.
Yes.
Do they have an active sex life? Are they in a relationship? Do they want to have a relationship?
Do they know about safe sex?
Right.
A lot of people with disabilities aren't even taught. Well, I was taught about sexuality and safe sex when I was younger, only because I was in a mainstream class.
Okay.
However, a lot of people who are in special ed classes, especially those with cognitive disabilities, they're not taught about safe sex. And then they become teenagers and young adults, and they have these urges, and oh, it's bad.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff's going on, and they don't know how to.
Yeah, they don't know how to handle it. They're not told to masturbate, because God forbid that their parents suggest it.
Right.
And
who else is supposed to suggest it if it's not that?
And it's just, those are the people who really are the targets for, lots of sexual crimes, because they don't know how to say no. Oh, this person is interested in me? Okay. And then they do something when they don't do it safely, and it's just a bad situation. And they get pregnant, and they don't know how to raise a child, and I don't know. It's just a bad situation, and everybody should be taught about at least safe sex, at least what condoms
the
are,
basics.
what birth control is.
Yeah.
That you can say no at any time, and it's okay.
That they have
to say no.
The right to have a choice.
Yeah, and that something I wish I was taught more, or had more reinforcement with, is the fact that I was worth more. I was worth more than that guy over there. I mean, not that he's worthless, but I'm too good to be with him.
Right.
Rather than...
It's okay that you deserve better.
Right, and instead I was encouraged to stay in unhealthy relationships because they would put up with my disabilities. And it's just...
Right.
It's not good. It's just...
I don't want somebody in a relationship with me who's putting up with some part of who I am. Because that's not cool. That's not a good relationship.
No.
I always hate the phrase when I hear it from people's mouths, well, blah, 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 but he loves me.
Yeah.
Or but she loves me. And that you have to say it that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really telling, is really saying something about how you feel about yourself in this relationship.
And you need to love yourself first before anyone else is going to be able to love you the way you should be loved.
And to learn communication skills, learn negotiation skills, learn how to communicate your needs.
Right.
And whether those needs are you actually have specialized needs because of your disability,
Right.
so you might need help with certain things,
Mm-hmm.
and that you have sexual needs, and you should be allowed to express that as well,
Right.
and say, you know, not only, you know, these are the needs I have, here's how I would like to have them met, and
By the way, you can't put me upside down on that thermogenic.
right,
You know,
that,
yeah.
we
Right side up,
we
okay.
have some limits. We can't do these things, but we can do these things.
Yes.
Yeah,
Well,
right,
they
right side up,
prefer to
okay,
do that.
just not upside down.
Right, right. Okay. Not upside down.
Or, you know, having the openness with the partners and being able to say, you know what, I don't know what I can do, but let's give it a try. Let's see what I can do.
Right.
Let's see what we can do together.
Absolutely.
A lot of people with disabilities kind of veer away from having relationships with other people who have disabilities because of the needs that they might have.
Right.
You know, and how their needs would clash and how their needs would fit. And it's just a matter of figuring out how your bodies work together. I've been in relationships with disabled people, non-disabled, and, you know, I've found pleasure sexually with both kinds.
Mm-hmm.
The last guy I was seeing, he was also in a wheelchair, and it was really, really good sex. We had to, like, figure it out. We had to try a lot of things, but it was really good once we
There's
did.
nothing wrong with that.
No!
There's nothing wrong with
And
trying
it
a bunch
was
of
all
things to see what
part-
works.
Yeah, and it was all part of the foreplay.
Yeah.
You know, there was still touching and kissing, and, you know, it was just experimenting, and it was fun. You know, with an able-bodied guy, I kind of know how to have sex, and so it's not as fun. But, you know, maybe the next one will be able-bodied, and we'll see.
Right.
Like, you know, but I don't know. It's just, it's fun to experiment with my limitations and also with my talents and, you know, well, yeah, talents and that, you know, yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I think that's an important point that you make, that I think regardless of people's abilities, you need to be willing to experiment and try out things and see what works and what doesn't work. Because again, everybody has different physical limitations and sexual limitations of what they're willing to do or interested in
Right.
or willing to try. And you have to be willing to sort of work things out and work around, and you could both be able-bodied people, but that doesn't mean you fit together well sexually.
Right.
I've come across men and women being dismayed because they say he's too big or she's too small or this or that and all of this stuff. Like, well, it may be that the two of you are not going to be physically sexually compatible because not all parts are the same. Everybody's different.
Right. Or you have sex somewhere else.
Or you have sex a different way, or you work up to it longer and get to that point. You know, so you might have to be willing to do a little bit more foreplay to get things ready.
Right. You know, KY is out there too.
KY's good stuff.
That's why God gave us tongues.
That's right. That's why you have tongues. Use other things. Work your way up there.
So I have a question.
Okay.
It's not in the chat room, but my own
Okay.
question. Whenever we're dealing with a group that doesn't know what we're about, we try to address what is the single biggest misconception about us that we would rather you didn't think. And other than that you're sexually active, what is the biggest misconception about people who are differently disabled in some way or another? What do
That's
people
a
not
very good
realize?
question. Well, there's a lot of different disabilities, so that's really, really, really hard to answer. For me personally, I prefer that people just don't make assumptions about my ability. If they're interested in me, don't think, oh, what is she gonna need help with?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what am I gonna have to do for her? You know, don't think that. Because you haven't asked me.
Mm-hmm.
And, so in a relationship sort of way, I'd rather people just show they're interested, and so I can tell, you know, not just being nice. And, but not too,
aggressive.
yeah. So just right.
Oh.
And, you know, just take one day at a time, because I am so irritated with people assuming that I'm going to need help with something, which I do every day of my life. Like brush my hair, brush my teeth, get out of bed, get dressed, take a shower. I do all those things all by myself. Yay for me. But no, and if your partner needs help, don't think of it as a chore. You're helping your partner. Just like I would help you with math if you needed it. Or, you know, I help with what I can. And that's usually thinking of stuff, correcting papers. And I ask for help when I need it. If it's transferring to another chair, or, you know, picking something up from the ground, it's no big deal. And for you to, or for anyone to freak out about it before it even happens is annoying, to say the least. So I guess that was my long-winded way of answering that question.
No, I
Any assumption.
Yeah, any assumption. There's not really one assumption like there is for your group. I mean, I know there's a lot of different parts of your group, but you know, like with the polyamory group, you know, like there are a lot of assumptions made about that, and it's just not accurate, and you don't want them made, you know, for the most part. Like, maybe the woman is just submissive and she's letting the men, you know, share her, or whatever, or, you know, whatever, and it's not the case.
Yeah.
You want what you have, so you have it.
Yeah, and I think that that's true. That I think what ends up being annoying for anybody is that you're making generalized assumptions without even talking to me or you or anybody else about it.
Right.
You've just made these decisions.
Yeah.
Without actual information.
Yeah. And that's what irritates me the most. I've had several conversations about that thing, that exact thing with people who were interested in me but were too scared to be with me. So, and it's just annoying.
So are they afraid of all the extra work they think they're gonna have to do, or
yeah, or you know, like
I don't know.
I don't even know. It's like sometimes it's what their family's gonna think, or you know what their friends are gonna think, or it's all about perception.
Right.
And they don't mind that I'm disabled, but their mom might.
Right.
You know, and it's
at some point in there, you're like,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm the perfect person to take home to your mom.